Enjoy a dream story from Undine of the Wurundjeri people. The story of Bunjil, the creator spirit of this land. Let me tell you a story of one long, long ago in the dream.
Watch.
Came a falling star of great force named Bira.
They start a story.
Fell from the sky and created the body and Bunjil was the creator spirit of all. That Bunjil saw, he created Gunagiri, the sky. And as the circle encircled, he looked down and saw there was nothing at all. Swooping down from the sky, Bunjil blew air from his beak and created Mother Earth. He then created all living things, trees, mountains and animals, including Mindy the snake, Ingalinga the echidna, and Wang the crow.
No, let's go up there because otherwise you can't see.
The Tasman rainbow appeared and shattered into many pieces. Each piece from the rainbow had its own colours and turned into a beautiful bird. As they were created, the birds, each with their own spirit, sang with joy as they flew down to the earth.
From the dreamtime until today, people have watched birds fly and marvel at their grace and their faith. Australia is fortunate to be the home of over 750 bird species, many of them native. The large predatory birds, with rapid flashes of colour, birds fly around our farms, share our suburbs, keep watch over our cities, visit our gardens, and enrich our lives. From ancient times until today, these spirits of the sky have inspired our imagination.
Wabajika and welcome to Spirits of the Sky here at Hillsville Sanctuary. The birds we're about to meet are flying on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people, and we'd like to acknowledge the connection that our First Nations people have had to this land that spans many thousands of years. Hi, my name's Jason. And I'm Sean. And Australia is known as the land of the parrots because we're lucky enough to have 56 different species of parrot found here in Australia over a wide range of environments. You can find parrots in our lush rainforests, through our sparse woodlands, and even in our dry central heart, you can find parrots. And these wild birds, they need wild places. Some of the birds we're meeting today require very large old trees that can take centuries to grow, and we can lose them in just minutes. These first birds are ones that do rely on those large old trees. These are red-tailed black cockatoos. Behind me is our male Pinjarri. On my hand is a female. Another female landing up the back there, having her tail feathers as she lands. I've got Karak on my hand and Ivory's up the back, two females, and it's the tail feathers that are the easiest way to tell males from females apart. If you have a look at the male's tail behind me, when he takes off, he'll show you a good look at those tail feathers. They've got those large orange bars, red bars, sorry, in their tail.
Nico, your friend. Let's call you. Nico.
I'm trying to listen to you. Tails, they've got some of the lighter colours like orange and yellows in their tails, as well as those beautiful golden specks on their faces, chests and wings as well. So when he does take off any moment now, he's taking his time eating that, but have a look at his tail feathers as he does, and we get a good look at the female very soon. Absolutely stunning. Here in Australia, we've got 5 species of black cockatoo, and the red-tailed black cockatoo that's found in Victoria, up in the northwestern border, isn't doing so well in the wild. They're actually a threatened species, and that's because of habitat loss. You can see that she is a pretty big bird, and a tree hollow big enough for a bird of this size, and their offspring can take up to 200 years to form naturally. And we're losing them a lot faster than they can be regenerated. The other reason is that they rely on Australian native plants as a food source. In one case, there's a subspecies of the red-tailed black cockatoo that relies on as few as 3 individual species of trees for their entire diet. Only 3. And as we get more and more introduced species of tree in the environment, we start to lose not only the tree hollows, but also the food plants of these beautiful birds. So we're going to send her up the top there and have a look when she lands. She'll fan out those tail feathers. Absolutely stunning, aren't they? And so there's another species of black cockatoo that's more commonly found in this area, the yellow-tailed black cockatoo. I probably don't need to describe them too much, it's all in the name. They've been able to adapt to eating a wide variety of food, so while they are still a threatened species because of that overall habitat loss and the loss of those tree hollows, they've been able to hold on in a lot more area than the red-tails because of their ability to adapt to eating a wide variety of food. But as though there are some areas that have adapted very, very well.
Amazing.
Right as she came to land, that we just got casting. There we go. So there are some birds that have made it really, really well adapting to living amongst people. And this is an example of a bird you can see pretty much anywhere that people are, especially on the eastern and northern parts of Australia. You can see them in parks, gardens, golf courses. We see them around Healesville very, very often. You can even see them in our backyards, in our busy city streets. But what you might not know is just how loud a sulphur-crested cockatoo like Quasi is. Or maybe I see a lot of nodding, maybe we know exactly how loud they are. They're actually one of the loudest of any parrots anywhere. In fact, the loudest is a species of cockatoo found in Indonesia, and they have a call of 135 decibels. And if you're like me, you don't know what 135 decibels means in the real world, a jet engine taking off is 140. And so these sulphur-crested cockatoos aren't far behind that at all.
Now we've just had a really good look at some of our beautiful cockatoo species, and like all the other parrots, they generally feed on fruits, nuts and seeds. But today we would like to meet some of our predatory birds as well. In fact, we'd like to meet some of our specialised birds that play that we
Wow.
call raptors. And all raptors
View the globe.
distinct features. They all have a hooked mid-hairy beak. They have sharp claws on their toes called talons, and very powerful beaks they use to catch and kill their prey. The first raptor we're going to meet today is one of our larger raptors here in Australia. In fact, this is our third largest raptor, and they're what we call a broad-winged raptor. Simply because they have big broad wings, they'll head to a relatively light body weight. This here is a black-breasted buzzard, and to make it a bit harder on me, this black-breasted buzzard's name is Beatrice, the black-breasted buzzard. A little bit of a tongue twister. But even though they are very well adapted for that gliding and soaring type of flight, they're also a bird that's very comfortable and very coordinated while they're on the ground. Some would say she's eating cute while she's on the ground. Now there's a really good reason why they're so comfortable on the ground. They're one of the very few raptors in Australia that do some of their hunting while they're on the ground. They're really well known as nest robbers, and they steal the eggs and chicks of our large ground nesting birds, which includes quite a few species here in Australia. It includes the largest bird of all here in Australia, the emus. Now hopefully you've had a chance to meet the emus already today, and you've noticed that they're really big birds. Now because they're really big birds, they lay really big eggs. In fact, the egg of an emu is far too big for a bird like Beatrice here to be able to pick that egg up in their feet or in their beak to try and break it open. So they've had to develop this really special behaviour to get into emus. And I'm hoping Beatrice here is going to be able to show us exactly how to break open an emu egg, because I just happen to have an emu egg in my pocket. And you can see that's a pretty big egg. This is not actually a real one, but it's the same size as a real emu egg. It's just too big for her to pick up in any egg. So if you keep your eyes on Beatrice, you might just be lucky enough to be able to see exactly how they go about breaking open an emu egg. I think you're going to get the idea. She's picked up that rock, she carries it over to the egg and lines it up, and try it again. I think you get the idea.
Yeah.
You're supposed to hit it with the rock first before you actually break it. Here we go. There's a rock there. Try the rock. Yeah. Like this. There we go. Just try. Some people think there's a little bit of a trick that we taught this bird. A lot of people think it's not a very good trick after seeing that. It's not actually a trick. It's a natural adaptation. It's a natural behaviour that black-breasted buzzards just do. They don't learn it from their parents. In fact, they don't learn it at all. They just know how to do it. All black-breasted buzzards just know how to break open an emu. the very first time they ever see an inuit, they know exactly what
Welcome home.
They find a rock and start throwing it down on top of it. It's what we call instinctive or innate behaviour. It's not a learned behaviour anyway whatsoever. So it's quite amazing simple because of that. And I think we're really lucky in the only place in the world to have black-breasted bonnets living here in Australia. Now, obviously, the birds that are meeting today are trained to participate in the show. And as a zookeeper here at Zoos Victoria, animal training is a really important part of our job. And we train animals for all sorts of different reasons. One of those reasons is to allow our animals to participate in their own healthcare. Now, when you have an animal that will voluntarily participate in things like medical treatments and medical procedures, it makes those things much, much easier on the animals themselves. And they tend to recover a lot better and a lot faster if they're involved in their own recovery, just like people. It also makes our job as zookeepers just that little bit easier, and it makes the job of the vets a little bit easier also. So it's a win-win situation. The bird you're about to meet is a bird that we found out in the wild. It was actually found on the side of the road with a broken wing. We reported to the vet hospital here about 15 years ago. The vets could fix the wing, but it wasn't suitable for release back into the wild. He's been living with us here at Experience in the Sky ever since. And he's been a part of our show for the last 15 years. In fact, if you ask him, he'd probably tell you that he's been the star of the show for the last 15 years. I'd like to introduce you to Kevin. This is Kev, the long-billed cabeller. Now, because Kevin came down to us after having a broken wing, we needed to make sure that wing was working properly and that we could exercise the wing. So one of the first behaviours we trained Kevin to do was to open his wings. So we opened up those wings, we checked that the left and right are nice and balanced. And the feather condition is good on those wings. We checked the rest of his feather condition by asking him to turn around. Check his back and his front. We also need to check on his feet, so we ask for his right foot and his left foot. For those of you who are checking, you can get right. Now, the last behaviour we'd like you to have a look at with Kevin is a pretty simple behaviour, but it's probably one of the most important behaviours we have. It is to step up. Now that stepping up is really important because it is so simple. When we're training our animals here, we find a behaviour that we know our animals can do and they're likely to do it 99% of the time. We then use that as what we call a consent behaviour. And that's really important. So whenever we're working with our animals, no matter what we're doing, a training session, it could be a medical procedure or treatment, it could be these shows, we always ask our animals if they're ready to come to work, if they're prepared to participate. By knowing Kevin has that behaviour that he does 99% of the time, I can ask him if he wants to come to work by simply asking him to step up. If he chooses not to step up, he's telling me one really simple thing. He's just telling me, no, I'm not ready to come to work. We don't know why, we don't care why, we just know he's not prepared to work. That's fine, we totally acknowledge that, we just come back a little bit later on and we try a little bit later on. It's the first stage in two-way communication that we have between our parrots and our trainers. It's a really, really important tool for our birds to be able to say yes or no. It'd be a little bit like you being at home at some stage in the morning, having your morning coffee, someone from work can gently taps you on the shoulder and says, would you like to come to work? You can say no. No, thank you. The best thing about it, there's no repercussions. There's no pay gets docked. No one gets angry at you. You just turn up to work when you're good and ready. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? You're probably far more productive in that situation if you're actually choosing to be there. Now, Kevin has done a great job. How about a big round of applause for Kevin? Thank you. Now, when it comes to training for healthcare here at Zoos Victoria, that is just really the tip of the iceberg. Right across Zoos Victoria, the 40-foot properties, we train for a whole host of different behaviours that are far more complicated, far more complex than that. It could be voluntary blood draws, it could be voluntary injections, voluntary heart rate monitoring. All those things allow our animals to voluntarily participate in their day-to-day healthcare, which allows us to improve the welfare of all of those animals.
It really is such an important tool. Now you might know that in the parrot world it's usually males that are brighter compared to females. Females are usually fairly dull in colour. But with this bird here, that's what happens. The females are just as colourful, just as striking as the males, but they are a completely different colour. This is Les, and Les is a male Eclectus parrot. And Eclectus parrots like Les are found and it's the male's job to spend most of their time.
Wow, this bird fly a lot.
As you can see, he's is a very beautiful bird. He's not just there to look pretty. His colours are actually quite simple. And that's because mainly focused parrots like this. As I said, spend most of their time sitting at the top of those
Real one.
rainbow trees foraging for food. Where they can be quite
Similar,
vulnerable,
right?
except for the fact that those green feathers help them blend in amongst the green leaves. And they're trying to blend in so that things like birds of prey flying up above, looking down for a nice feathery snack, can't actually see them. And it works really, really well. You can imagine if Les was to sit up in any one of the trees around the arena, he would be very, very difficult to spot. I don't have to imagine, I've seen it, he's very difficult to spot. But the females, they aren't the same colour as the males because they spend their time in a different part of the forest. They actually spend up to 8 months of every year defending their nesting hollows from other females.
Oh,